Hello viewers, I'm Juhi Bajaj and today I'm here to interview Mr. Parag Chitale, the founder and the managing director of CPLC, that is Chitale's Personalized Learning Center. He'll give us some important points on how to crack personal interviews and group discussions. Good morning, sir. So, starting with our interview, what should be our approach towards preparations?
If I talk about the two separately, when I talk about GDs, for example, the most important aspect in a GD is the content. So whatever be the topic, I mean, a lot of people say that your body language matters and your manners and your behavior and all that matters. Yes, all these things do matter, but it's not that you can ignore content over these other things. So as long as your content is good, everything else is manageable. That's my perspective. And the only way of building content is through your reading of newspapers and magazines and being aware of whatever is happening, so that you can have an opinion which is maybe an independent or an original idea that comes out in a GD. That is what matters a lot. So as far as GDs are concerned, that's the most important aspect. As far as a PI is concerned, I would say a PI is always about you yourself. So it helps if you have thought about yourself well enough, you know your strengths, weaknesses, and you need to present yourself in a positive manner. And if you have prepared all of that well in advance, it helps a lot in a PI.
How can one calm themselves in a pressure situation? Because there might be situations when you get nervous and you have to calm yourself down. So what tips can you give us?
In a GD, when something like this happens, if it's a topic where you don't know too much about it, maybe what you can do is just wait for someone else to start, a couple of people to start talking, and then build from there. I mean, an ideal answer to this question can be never be in a situation where you don't know anything about the topic. But as I said, that's an ideal answer. Once in a while, some topic may come up where you really don't know what to say. So wait for some people to start off, wait for a few people to put forth their opinions, and then you can build from there and you can keep adding on. You need to be alert all the time. So which is where, as I said earlier, if you are relaxed, it really helps. Now it's very easy for me to say this because when you are there and you're fighting for a seat, it's very difficult maybe if you are in such a situation to really relax, but there is nothing else that's going to work. So if you are alert and if you are, thinking all the time about how to build on these points and so on and so forth, that will really help.
Most people say that it's good to start first in a group discussion. Does it really, is that true?
It helps provided you have the content. Let me put it this way. When you start, it's like it's a first impression that you're making. If you start with some very good content, then you made a very nice impression. But if you start where you have nothing to say, then you maybe made a fool of yourself right in the beginning. So it's a double-edged sword, I would say. If you really have the content, or if you really have something which is going to define the entire structure of the discussion, wonderful, please do it because it helps. But don't be desperate to start whatever be the topic, or even if you don't have anything to say, if you start, you're going to make a fool of yourself right in the beginning, and maybe you'll tell the panelists, okay, don't waste your time on me. So it helps if you can start, but only if you have solid content, not otherwise.
How to contribute or add some real contribution from our side to a group discussion? That was that.
So in a GD, typically what happens is when you're given the topic, normally you're given a couple of minutes to think about the topic and note down your points. So these 2 minutes are extremely critical. So if you can, this is what we always recommend, you break up the topic into keywords. I mean, as part of our training programs, very often we use, this is one of my favorite topics when I'm doing an orientation session, where if we say Sonia Gandhi should be made the Prime Minister of India, if that's the topic for discussion, most of the times the discussion goes on to yes or no. Whereas what we tell our students always is, let's break up the topic into keywords. So if I look at this topic, the keywords would be Sonia Gandhi, the keyword would be Prime Minister, and the keyword would be India. So you have multiple subjects in the topic that you can speak on. It's not all about Sonia Gandhi. Maybe you can talk about Prime Minister as the keyword and start from there. Maybe you can talk about India as a country as the keyword. What are the problems that India faces? These are the problems that the Prime Minister needs to address. Hence, what are the qualities that we will need in our Prime Minister? And hence, does Sonia Gandhi match up to those qualities? Now, if you've broken down your topic into keywords right in the beginning, and if you've kind of noted down your points on each of these keywords, you will have a lot of content. The other thing that we always tell our students is don't take a stand right in the beginning. Because the moment you take a stand, so for example in this topic, if I start with yes, I think Sonia Gandhi should be made the Prime Minister, then it is going to be very difficult for you to speak on the other side through the discussion. So instead of taking a stand, if you take an approach right in the beginning where you want to talk on both sides of the topic, and maybe if time permits and if it comes to that, take a stand at the end of the discussion, so that you at least have enough content on both sides of the topic. So when you say how can you add value, I would say break up the topic into keywords. That's going to be crucial, critical, because then you can think of your points on each of these keywords. Be alert, listen to what the others are saying so that you can build on those points. And what matters at the end of the day is original, genuine content. You can't all the time agree or disagree with someone in the discussion. Original content, okay, innovative ideas, your own new opinions will matter a lot. So focus on that.
Now in a group discussion you meet many kinds of people, okay, but how to deal with people who are very aggressive and they just want to put front their points, so they're just suppressing you. So what according to you should we do?
In my opinion, it'll help if you don't make such a person your enemy. So the way you should deal with such people, and hopefully not everyone in the group is of that type, otherwise you will really not know what to do. But typically there are maybe a couple of them like that. So make them your friends and kind of give them a kind of an ego massage and say wow what a point and blah blah blah. So when you are talking, at least they don't interrupt you. So if you can play that role where you don't make that person your enemy. And if these are typically loud people where once they start talking they just want to talk, just wait for them to finish, and the moment they finish, start talking. So it should ideally not be a case where if you identify there's an aggressive person, don't cut that person, because then that person will try and get back. But you will have enough opportunity to talk. In a GD, typically in the first couple of minutes everyone wants to talk. After that there's a lull. So you will have enough chance to talk provided you have enough content.
What are the skills that a panelist notice when a person is sitting in front of them, and what can make them happy? What can we do, and what are the qualities that we should have?
First and the most important is the content in GD. They would look at your communication skills. They would look at your skills with respect to working within a group, because a group discussion is not really a debate, it's more about discussing with these other people that are there in your panel. So they would look at those team skills or working with people. They would look at if something can be brought out in terms of leadership skills, then something of that sort. So these are the skills that the panel would look at basically from a GD perspective. When you're talking about a PI, then I think the most important thing is logical thinking ability, because when questions are being asked and when you are answering the question, so first of all, how well do you know yourself? Okay, what is so good about you? So all your strengths that can be brought out, or let's assume some achievements of yours that you can bring out. Why typically this question, why do you want to do MBA? So the thing most important out here is what is the logic behind doing an MBA? I mean, everyone wants to do an MBA, but why? Is there some sound thinking, or is it just about, okay, let me also do it because everyone else is doing it? So your thinking ability. Once again, in a PI also your communication skills will matter. You will be asked questions on your, you as an individual, your personality, your goals and so on, your academics, and how well you've understood and how well you've applied them or you can apply them. You will be asked questions on general awareness, or what are your areas of interest. They will try and look at whether you are a unidimensional personality or a multidimensional personality. All of these things will be evaluated in a PI.
What are the do's and don'ts for group discussions?
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, the most important do in my opinion is analyze the topic, break it up into keywords and have enough content so that you can bring out the content. Bringing out original ideas, your original opinion is extremely important in a GD. Not to get too aggressive and not to pull down someone in the GD, or not too much of aggressive behavior. That is very important in a GD. Knowing enough about the topic is very important. So that is the part of your preparation where you do a lot of reading, offline is something very important. Apart from that, when you talk about do's and don'ts in a GD, I mean, if you can involve people in your discussion and if you can contribute to the discussion, then I think that's the most important aspect as far as GDs are concerned. In PIs, my strong recommendation is, bring out all the positives about you. If there is a negative, don't get too hassled about it. Even if the interviewer spots that and brings that out, no one is perfect. People do have strengths and weaknesses. What will matter more is, so what are you doing about your weakness, or how are you going to cover that up, and are you working on that, and so on and so forth. Be relaxed, okay, try and maintain a nice posture. This was something that we discussed earlier, but being relaxed so that you are alert and you can think on the spot, be a little more, I wouldn't say creative, but come up with nice answers, to the questions. That will happen only if you are relaxed. So that is very critical.
What are the frequently asked questions, as you previously mentioned, in group discussions and personal interviews?
A very, very common opening question is, tell us something about yourself. And this question, according to me, is a make or break question for interviewees. Ideally, you should bring out all the strengths that you want to bring out in front of the interview panel in response to this question. So tell us something about yourself is a very commonly asked question. Typically, if you are a fresher, you will, and you normally definitely will get asked questions about your academics. So you need to be, clear with that. There are different ways of asking these questions. They may ask you which is your favorite subject and then build on from there. But ACADS related questions will typically happen if you are a fresher. If you are a person with work experience, they will normally ask you about the work that you do, the role that you play, and they want to know exactly what are you doing. If you are a person with work experience, you should also know as much as possible about the company that you are working with, because they may just want to know whether you're just focused on your role and only that, or you're also aware about the company in general. So that is very important. You may be asked questions on your strengths, weaknesses. You may be asked questions on your interests and hobbies. If there are certain achievements that you mentioned in your form, then they may ask you some question based on that. And very often general awareness questions can also get linked to your area of interest. So for example, if my area of interest is cricket, they may ask me some general awareness question linked to cricket based on whatever is happening right now. There are various cricket tournaments going on, or some teams playing against each other as part of a series. So if cricket is your area of interest, it's not only about, okay, I play cricket, but you should also be aware of whatever is going on in cricket. So general awareness questions can get linked to something that you mentioned either as your area of interest or as your strength. So general awareness questions will get asked. Questions that can be asked on your goals, your long-term, short-term goals, what do you want to do in life. These I would call as more of personality related questions. Your thinking comes out, your logical ability comes out here. So there are no right or wrong answers here, but what matters a lot is your thought process. So that needs to come out. These are, I would say, most of the commonly asked questions, but depending on what you've answered, as a response to a particular question, some other question may get picked up from an answer that you've given. So even as part of the preparation, what we normally advise our students is, let's assume we start with tell us something about yourself, and you have a certain answer in mind. So sit down with that answer and think of all possible counter questions to that answer, and then build from there in your preparation itself. But cover all these various topics like you as an individual, your personality, your academics, your areas of interest, general awareness, and so on.
Okay, thank you so much. And I hope our viewers would have enjoyed a very good interview with us, sir, and would learn a lot from it. Thank you so much.